It was a quiet evening. The sun had already set, and the sky was painted with soft colors of pink and purple. The air was cool and calm. Inside the small apartment, the narrator was sitting on a cozy couch, reading a book. It had been a normal day. Nothing special happened, just the usual routine. Suddenly, there was a soft sound at the door, a gentle scratching and a few quiet meows. The narrator was surprised. At first, they thought it was a cat outside, maybe someone's pet. But when they looked through the peephole, what they saw made them blink in disbelief. Standing there were two young women. They were not ordinary girls. Each of them wore a pair of soft, furry cat ears on their heads, and their faces had a few delicate markings like whiskers drawn with makeup. Their eyes were wide and hopeful, but also tired. Their clothes looked worn out, and their feet were dusty as if they had been walking for a long time. The two girls looked at each other nervously, then turned back to the door and meowed softly again. The sound was not like a joke or a game. It was more like a plea, a way to say they needed help. The narrator felt their heart move at that moment. It was unusual, but also very real. These two were hungry and probably very scared. Without thinking twice, the narrator unlocked the door and opened it slowly. "Are you okay?" they asked gently. One of the girls nodded quickly, then both stepped inside carefully. They looked around the apartment, their eyes wide with curiosity and relief. It was warm inside, and the smell of fresh food was inviting. The narrator invited them to sit down on the couch. "You must be hungry," they said kindly. The girls nodded again almost shyly. The narrator went to the kitchen and quickly prepared some simple food, bread, cheese, and some fruit. It wasn't a big meal, but it was enough to fill empty stomachs. The two girls sat close together, sharing the food quietly. Every bite seemed to bring a little more color back to their cheeks. The narrator watched them with gentle eyes, feeling grateful they had come to the door. Sometimes life surprises you in the smallest moments. After the girls finished eating, the narrator offered them water and a blanket to warm up. The girls smiled softly, and one said, "Thank you." It was the first time they spoke, and their voices were soft but clear. The narrator realized these girls were more than just strangers in need of food. They had stories hidden behind those cat ears and shy smiles. The girls told the narrator their names were Mia and Lena. They explained how they had been living on the streets for weeks. They came to the city looking for work, for a place to belong, but things had been hard. They had little money, and sometimes people looked at them strangely because of their costumes. The cat ears and makeup were part of who they were. A way to express themselves and feel strong even when the world felt against them. Mia spoke first, her voice trembling slightly. "We love to dress like this," she said. "It's not just for fun, it helps us forget the bad things." Lena nodded, adding, "When we wear these ears, we feel like we belong somewhere, like we are special, not just lost." The narrator listened carefully, feeling touched by their words. It was easy to see that Mia and Lena were trying to find their way, using the small things that gave them hope. The narrator wanted to do more than just give them food for the night. They wanted to give them kindness and maybe even friendship. The evening passed quietly, with the three sitting together in the small living room. They talked softly about simple things, favorite colors, music, and dreams. Mia said she loved to paint, and Lena dreamed of working in a place where she could help animals. The narrator shared some stories, too, about times when they felt alone or scared. As the night grew deeper, the girls seemed to relax. Their eyes were less tired, and their smiles came more easily. The narrator knew this was only the first step, but it was a good one. Just opening the door had started something important. Before they all went to sleep, the narrator offered the girls a place to stay for the night. Mia and Lena looked at each other, surprised and grateful. "Thank you," they said again, their voices soft but full of hope. That night, as the lights dimmed and quiet settled in, the narrator thought about how small acts of kindness can change lives. Sometimes, all it takes is to open your door and your heart to strangers. The two cat girls, who meowed at the door, were no longer just lost souls in the city. They had found a safe place for the night, and maybe something more. The next morning, the sun shone gently through the window, filling the small apartment with warm light. The two cat girls, Mia and Lena, slowly woke up. For the first time in many days, they felt safe and rested. The quiet morning was peaceful, and the narrator smiled as they watched the girls stretch and yawn. After a simple breakfast, the narrator and the girls sat together at the small table. It was time to talk more, to learn about who Mia and Lena really were and why they had come to the city wearing cat ears and makeup. The girls were nervous at first, but the kindness in the narrator's eyes helped them open up. Mia began softly, her voice full of careful hope. "I grew up in a small town," she said. "My family wasn't rich, but we had each other. Then, things changed. My parents fought a lot, and one day I just had to leave. I came here to find a new life." She looked down for a moment, then smiled faintly. The cat ears started as a joke, something to make me laugh, but soon they felt like a part of me. When I wear them, I don't feel so scared. Lena nodded, her eyes shining with memories. "I had a job once, in a store, but I lost it when the company closed. After that, I didn't have anywhere to go. I met Mia on the street and we became friends. We decided to stay strong together, and the cat girl costumes helped us feel brave." She laughed quietly. "People stare at us sometimes, but we like to think they don't understand. We are not just costumes or fun, we are trying to find happiness." The narrator listened with deep care. It was clear that Mia and Lena had been through hard times. But their choice to express themselves in this special way was beautiful and brave. It was more than just play, it was a shield and a way to dream. To help them feel more comfortable, the narrator asked questions about their interests and talents. Mia's face lit up when she spoke about painting. "I love colors," she said. "I paint animals and fantasy worlds. When I paint, I can be free. It's like magic." Lena smiled, sharing her love for animals. "I want to help animals someday. Maybe work in a shelter or take care of pets. It makes me happy." The narrator felt a warm connection growing between the three. They realized these girls were not just struggling. They were full of hope and dreams. They just needed a chance. The day passed. The narrator helped Mia and Lena wash their clothes and clean up. The small apartment felt fuller with laughter and quiet conversations. The girls showed some shy smiles, feeling cared for and respected. The narrator also shared some of their own stories, times when they had felt lost and scared but found kindness in others. The afternoon came with a gentle breeze outside. The three decided to take a short walk to a nearby park. It was the first time Mia and Lena had felt free to just be themselves outside the streets. They wore their cat ears proudly, but this time without fear or shame. People in the park noticed them, but only smiled or looked away politely. No one made rude comments. Sitting on a bench, they talked about what the future might hold. Mia said softly, "Maybe one day we will open a small art shop. We can sell paintings and crafts. It will be our place." Lena added, "And I will work with animals. We can have a little family, even if it's not a normal one." The narrator smiled, feeling hope in their words. But reality was still waiting. The girls had no money and no home of their own. They needed to find work and a safe place to live. The narrator promised to help as much as they could. They talked about looking for part-time jobs and places where the girls could meet others who shared their love for cosplay and animals. That evening, back in the apartment, the narrator showed Mia and Lena some websites and groups online for cosplay artists and animal lovers. The girls were excited to see communities where they could belong and be accepted. It was a small step, but a very important one. Before going to bed, the three sat together and made a plan. They would try to find work slowly, save money, and stay strong. They promised to support each other no matter what happened. For the first time in a long time, Mia and Lena felt like they had a real chance. The night was calm and quiet. As the girls fell asleep, their faces peaceful and relaxed. The narrator thought about how people sometimes hide their pain behind strange costumes or strange behaviors. But underneath, they are just like anyone else, wanting to be loved, safe, and free. This day was only the beginning of a long journey for Mia, Lena, and the narrator. But it was a day full of kindness, hope, and new dreams. And sometimes, that is enough to change everything. The days that followed brought many changes. Mia, Lena, and the narrator began to live together in a small but warm apartment. The atmosphere was different now, filled with quiet hope and new routines. Each morning, the girls would help clean the small home, and the narrator tried to find ways to support them. They were no longer just visitors, but part of a small family formed through kindness. Mia spent hours at the small table, painting colorful pictures of animals and magical places. Her hands moved quickly, full of energy and passion. Lena took care of small plants on the windowsill and made plans to volunteer at the nearby animal shelter. The narrator watched with pride as the girls discovered their strengths again, even after such hard times. At first, the girls were shy about leaving the apartment for long periods, but the narrator encouraged them gently, saying, "The world is bigger than fear. You have a right to be part of it." Slowly, Mia and Lena began to visit local shops, parks, and community centers. They even started meeting other people who liked cosplay and animals, finding comfort in being accepted for who they were. One afternoon, Mia showed the narrator a small painting she had made, a cat with bright eyes and a kind smile. "This is for you," she said softly. "Thank you for believing in us." Lena smiled too, giving a small drawing of a dog with a wagging tail. The narrator kept these gifts carefully, knowing they meant more than words could say. The search for jobs was not easy. Many places asked for experience or references that Mia and Lena didn't have. Sometimes they faced rejection, which made them feel discouraged. But the narrator helped by writing letters, making phone calls, and giving advice. They reminded the girls that every no was just one step closer to yes. In the meantime, the girls helped with small tasks like folding laundry, cleaning, and cooking simple meals. They learned to manage money and plan their days. Their confidence grew a little each day, and with it, their smiles became brighter. 1. Evening, Lena shared a story from her past. She had always loved animals but never thought she could make a living from that passion. Now, she hoped to volunteer at the shelter and maybe study animal care in the future. Mia added, "I want to open a shop where I can sell my paintings. Maybe I can help others who feel lost like we were." The narrator listened, feeling proud and inspired. They saw not just two cat girls, but two brave young women ready to rebuild their lives. Sometimes challenges came. People on the street would stare or whisper when they saw the girls in their costumes. Some days, Mia or Lena felt tired and wanted to hide. But the narrator reminded them that being themselves was their greatest strength. "Your light is bright," they said. "Never let anyone make you feel small." Slowly, the three of them created a circle of support and love. They talked about their feelings honestly and helped each other through hard moments. Mia and Lena began to trust the narrator more deeply, sharing dreams and fears that they had kept hidden. The cat ears, once a symbol of loneliness and fear, became a symbol of hope and friendship. They laughed more and their voices grew stronger. The apartment was no longer just a place to sleep. It was a home filled with warmth and care. One morning, the narrator found an email from a local art gallery. They wanted to hold a small exhibition of Mia's paintings. It was a chance to show her talent to the world. Mia was nervous but excited. Lena and the narrator helped prepare the paintings and shared the good news with friends they had met online. The day of the exhibition was a beautiful moment. People came to see Mia's colorful, magical paintings. Many smiled and praised her work. Mia felt proud and happy, realizing that her dream was possible. Lena's eyes sparkled with joy, cheering her friend on. That night, back at the apartment, they celebrated quietly with a small cake and warm tea. The narrator said, "See? You are already changing the world around you." Mia and Lena smiled, feeling stronger than ever before. This was not the end of their journey, but a bright new chapter. Together, they faced the future with courage, love, and the belief that anything was possible. Time passed, and the lives of the narrator, Mia, and Lena grew closer with each day. Their bond was more than friendship. It was a family formed by care and understanding. They faced their challenges together and found strength in each other's company. The search for steady work continued. Mia took part-time jobs teaching art to children, sharing her love of painting and imagination. Lena volunteered at the animal shelter, learning valuable skills and feeling happy to help creatures who needed care. The narrator helped with paperwork, appointments, and moral support. The small apartment was often filled with laughter and music. Mia painted new pictures inspired by the animals Lena cared for. Lena planned events to raise awareness for the shelter. The narrator felt proud to witness this transformation, from two frightened girls into young women full of life and purpose. Sometimes difficulties came unexpectedly. One day, Mia received a letter that a past landlord was asking for money she did not have. Lena faced a cold reaction when trying to find a paid job. The narrator stood by them, helping to solve problems step by step, never giving up. The three of them also learned more about the cosplay community. They attended local gatherings and conventions where people shared their love for costumes, stories, and art. Here, Mia and Lena were not strange or alone. They were celebrated for their creativity and bravery. Meeting others like them gave the girls new hope. They made friends who understood their journey and accepted them without judgment. The narrator enjoyed watching Mia and Lena grow more confident, their eyes shining with happiness. One evening, as they sat together after a long day, the narrator asked, "What does family mean to you now?" Mia smiled softly. "Family is people who love you no matter what." Lena nodded. "It's the people who help you stand when you want to fall." The narrator felt warmth in their heart, knowing this small family had found something precious. They talked about dreams again. Mia hoped to teach art classes and maybe sell her paintings online. Lena wanted to become an animal care specialist and help shelters in many places. The narrator encouraged them to keep dreaming big, reminding them that every step forward was important. Life was not perfect, but it was good. They learned to face each day with courage and kindness, supporting each other no matter what. The cat ears and costumes remained, symbols of their unique story and strength. One special day, the narrator took Mia and Lena to meet with a counselor who helped people with hard pasts find peace and hope. The girls were nervous but brave. Talking about their feelings helped them heal deeper wounds and gave them tools to stay strong. After the session, they walked home in the soft evening light, feeling lighter and more hopeful. They talked about helping others who might be lost or scared. Together, they planned small projects to give back to their community. This new purpose brought joy and meaning. They knew their journey was not only about survival, but about building a better world for themselves and others. As the stars appeared in the night sky, the three of them sat together on the small balcony, looking up and dreaming. The world was wide and full of possibilities. They were ready to face it, together. Time had passed since the day the two cat girls, Mia and Lena, first meowed at the narrator's door. What began as a simple act of kindness, offering food and shelter, had grown into something much bigger. It was not just about helping with hunger or a place to sleep anymore. It was about building a new life, full of hope, friendship, and trust. Mia and Lena had found work and a small apartment nearby. It was not fancy, but it was their own space where they could be free and safe. They still wore their cat ears sometimes, but now with pride and joy, not fear or shame. The costumes were a part of their story, but they were also strong young women ready to face the world. The narrator and the girls stayed close, meeting often to share meals, stories, and laughter. Their friendship had become a kind of family, a bond that held them together through good times and hard times. One afternoon, the narrator invited Mia and Lena to visit a small community center. It was a place where people who had struggled could come for support, learn new skills, and meet friends. The girls were a little nervous, but excited. The narrator knew that being part of a community was important for their healing and growth. Tabe di. The center, Mia showed her paintings in a small art class. The other participants admired her talent, and she felt proud to share her gift. Lena volunteered to help care for small pets that were sometimes brought there. She was gentle and kind, making new friends who shared her love for animals. The girls began to understand that life was more than survival. It was about connection and purpose. The narrator watched with happiness as Mia and Lena's confidence grew. They were no longer just two starving cat girls. They were artists, helpers, dreamers. One evening, the three of them sat on a quiet rooftop, looking at the stars above. The city lights twinkled far below, but the stars felt closer here. Mia said softly, "I never thought I would have a family like this." Lena nodded. "Some families are chosen, not born." The narrator smiled, feeling the truth of their words. Family was about love, care, and being there for each other. It was about opening doors and hearts, even when it was hard. The journey was not over. There were still challenges ahead, money worries, fears of the future, and sometimes doubts. But together, they knew they could face anything. They had learned that kindness could change lives in ways no one expected. Mia and Lena planned to keep growing. Mia wanted to open a small art shop someday, a place filled with colors and dreams. Lena hoped to work in a larger animal shelter, caring for many creatures who needed love. The narrator promised to support them always. They had all grown from that night when two girls meowed at a door, hoping for more than just food. They hoped for kindness, hope, and a new beginning. As they said goodnight that evening, the narrator felt a deep peace. Sometimes the smallest gestures, an open door, a warm meal, a listening ear, could create the greatest changes. The story of the two cat girls was a reminder that behind every person there was a heart waiting to be seen and loved. And so, their story continued. Together, they faced the future with courage, knowing that family was not just who you are born to, but who you choose to walk with. They had found that family in each other, and that was more than enough.